start streaming. Okay, so I guess I can hear myself. Yes, I can. There we go. Everything's coming along nicely. There we go. Perfect. Okay. All right. And I'll close this up. We'll be starting in a few moments. Pretty good. Starting on time. All right. I'll put this away. Put that away. And what am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, popping this out. It's always a funny arrangement of tabs here. Popping this out over there. And I'll increase this and we're done. All right, cool. We are good to go. Now, last but not least, let me bring this up. All right, perfect. Where's the chat? Oh, there we go. Okay, what else do I need to do? Blue sky. That's right. All right, just one more post, then we can go. Going live. Please bring your questions. Do my best to answer them. While I'm trying to do 10 things at once. Indexing PDF docs. And Drupal, okay. I think that is it. We are good to go. Perfect. Okay. Let's put on the recorder. Oh, first comment. Oh, thanks. Thank you. All right. So, start a poll. That's no question. All right. Okay. So that's that. Need to record the other thing. One moment. And so no, it's that one. Which mic is that? That is that mic. And we are good to go. Perfect. All right. That's it. I think that's it. Switch over to the main feed. Let's have a bit of fun. Talking about documents, search. This is kind of like part 2 of last week's stream. But I'll get into that in a second. Now, before we begin, I just want to quickly mention, yes, I have to pay the bills, try to pay the bills, but if you want to help out the channel and make sure that there's more Drupal content coming out, check out the WebWash Premium community. Right now, I've got lifetime access for 99 euros. That's lifetime. It will be moving over to subscription. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm grabbing up all of these, some of the best live streams and fixing them up into a course format so you can follow along and watch them in a nice cut up version without any ads in a course format. And as of like a week ago, there's also a certificate. You can get a certificate at the end. And I've also got a community here where you can ask questions and just, yeah, if you have any Drupal questions or any questions in general, life, I can help you out. So let me just, just need to mention that if you want to support the channel. And once I get a few more people on it, I'll be more than happy to do private live streams, but I just need to get more people on it. And that would be fun, like private live streams, and then we can do an awesome bunch of things. But anyway, check it out. In the meantime, check out all the videos on YouTube as well. Okay, now before we begin, okay, all right. All right, cool. I've got a few questions. Here we go. Long live. Haha, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. All right, LinkedIn post. All right. There's a comment on LinkedIn. Excited to use it. Yeah, Solr using Tika. Yeah, you can use Tika, but Solr has its own extractor. So we're not even using Tika, which is good. You can use it in a nice, simple way, but let's get into it. So how do you index PDFs and Word docs? Yes, I didn't mention this in the actual event description, but we're going to be looking at also indexing Word docs as well. So PDF and Word docs in Drupal. How do you do that in Drupal and then create a view that lists out all of this content? Well, that's what I want to answer and show you tonight. Now, last week, we looked at getting started with Search API in general. So if you're new to Search API and you want to have a play with it, check out that live stream. Just go over to the YouTube channel on WebWash based off this day. So if you are watching this video in the future, because you're probably not watching it live, then a week ago, there you go, figure it out. There's a bit of homework for you, but essentially, yes, there is a getting started with Search API video. You can watch that. This is going to focus on setting up Search API attachments and also set up Solr locally as well. But I'm not going to cover just the benefits and everything about Search API. So how do you index PDFs and Word documents in Drupal? Well, there's many ways of indexing and extracting that type of information out of a document. Now, we're going to be using Search API attachments because this is a module that integrates with a lot of these libraries, and then you can integrate it, with your search backend. Now, there is a common way of extracting information out, and that is using Apache Tika. And you do have these other libraries, and they are all mentioned here. But the one that we're going to be focusing on is Solr's built-in extractor, because that's the easiest one to kind of get set up, because you don't have to set anything up. You have to set up Solr, of course, but once you have Solr set up, there's only one little slight change, which you will see, and that is about it. So it's actually pretty easy to set it up with Search API attachments. All right. Got a comment in YouTube. So far, I've experienced using Elasticsearch and Solr, but I think Algolia is good as well. Yeah, Algolia, I have used that in the past, but that gets very expensive very quick. That's one thing I've heard. I've played around with it, but pretty much any little request, and if you integrate that search engine with like some type of front end auto complete tool, every single request, every single keystroke essentially adds up. I don't mind Solr, and also, what is it? OpenSearch. I think OpenSearch is the one that's on AWS, which is a forked version of Elasticsearch. All right, so before we set everything up, let's just check out our Drupal setup. So here I've got a standard Drupal core website, and all I've done is I have installed the media library and also media module and that's it. And if we click on Add Media, we have Document. Then this is the most important one. Yes, we have audio, document, image, remote video, and video, but the one that we want to focus on is Document. So what I'm going to do is I am going to upload a few PDFs. So let me just click on Document, and I'll upload a PDF right here, and I'll upload a Word doc, and another one would be another PDF. Okay. So here we have our documents. So we have a Word doc, a document, and two PDFs. But notice the thumbnail. I don't like this thumbnail because I like to have images. I like to actually see a preview of the actual document. Now, luckily for us, we can use a module called Media Thumbnails PDF. This module utilizes the main parent module, if you call it that, called Media Thumbnails. And this module allows you to generate thumbnails essentially, because the media module treats thumbnails in a special way. Because say for remote video, if you upload a YouTube video, how you generate a thumbnail? Well, you need to download it through the embed and save it on your file system. When you generate thumbnails from an image, well, you're just resizing it because you have image magic and stuff like that set up, and that's pretty straightforward. But for documents, again, it's a little different. So the media system has an actual system for managing thumbnails. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to generate nice little thumbnails of your PDFs and Word docs, check out Media Thumbnails PDF and go ahead and download it. And the other one that we're going to download is Media Thumbnails Word. Now, for some reason, I'm not sure why, but on this page, there is no link to the Word version. Now, another thing to be aware of is that you do need Image Magic set up on your host. So if you are using DDEV, you're fine, which is what I'm using, but just be aware of that. So you may get a few errors. And also you need Image Magic set up for this one as well. And I do believe, yeah, you do need 2 extra libraries, but Composer handles that for you. So go ahead and download both modules. Now, I've already gone ahead and done that. And all you need to do is simply search for thumbnails. And let me go ahead and install both of them. And it's going to ask to install media thumbnails. Yeah, that's fine. And if we go to media, all we need to do is just resave the documents. So come in here, resave, click on save, and now we get a nice little thumbnail. I hope you can see that. I'll show it to you in a bit more detail. And if we go to the other PDF down below, we get another thumbnail. And if you click on files, for example, you can actually see the file that's getting generated. So if I bring this up in a new tab, you can see that this is the actual first page. And you can see that one as well. I actually used Canva to create this one because I needed something a bit different. So I thought, yeah, how to cook pancakes. I just asked the AI to generate it for me. Did a pretty good job. And if we go to media and then click on the document, so the Word doc, and click on save, we are going to get an error. And I'm going to show you how to fix this. But essentially here you'll see that you do have this create thumbnail method. So what we need to do here is we need to configure one setting. So if we go to configuration and search for thumbnails, here you can control the media thumbnail settings. You can also set up a refresh as well. But if you click on media thumbnails Word, we need to define the path directly to the MPDF library. Now, how do we do that? Well, what we can do is jump over to our code. And if we go to vendor, what is it, MPDF? Where is it? Where is it? It's right here. We can just link it to here, but I need to link it from within the container because I am using Composer. Well, no, sorry. I'm using Docker with DDEV. So what we can do is let's jump over to our terminal and go into DDEV. And if I go, then what is it? Vendor, MPDF, and then just grab that path. So it's pretty much the same as the example. Let me just grab that path and pop it in here. The only difference is there's no HTML. No, pretty close. And that is set up. And now if we go back to this page and we'll refresh and save, we should get, there we go, a document, a actual preview of the Word doc has been set up. Now, when I was testing this out, especially with the Word doc, I did give it a pretty big document and I did get an error. I had to adjust one thing, but this was just before the live stream and I was like, oh, I'm not going to debug this right now. So test it, have a test, make sure it works. You might have to adjust and tweak a few things. So just be aware of that. Now, if we go to files with the preview, just be aware. Now, this is something just to be aware of. If you are dealing with private files, make sure that the thumbnail is being saved as a private file, not a public file. Because right now, if we click on, well, if we go to incognito, we can see the actual thumbnail because it's served out of site's default files, which is the public directory. So you don't want a situation where you accidentally leak the first page of a private file that should be private because you have set up thumbnails. So just be careful. So just test that out. All right. So at this point, we have got, I think, everything set up. So we've got our documents. We've got our 3 documents. We have our, thumbnails set up. Now let's go ahead and quickly set up Search API. Now, again, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm not going to go through a whole thing about getting started with Search API. There is a whole other video on that, and that is last week. You can check it out. So I'll just quickly mention that Search API abstracts the server and the index. So that means that you can have your index stored in a database, or you can have an index stored in Elasticsearch, OpenSearch, or Solr. And it is an advanced module when it comes to creating search pages, but trust me, it is worth it. It is 100% worth learning how to use it. You don't have to fully understand it because Search API to me is still like a bit of a black box. It's like a magic thing. You send keywords into it and you return something back because there's so many layers. Have you ever, I don't know about you, but have you ever actually tried to debug why Solr returns funny results? That's an interesting experience, especially if you're not a Solr expert, because Solr itself is probably more complex than Drupal. And yeah, Search API is a very powerful module, but it's worth learning because then you can create some awesome search pages. So if you want to learn more about Search API, just go to drupal.org/project/Search API. And we are going to use the Solr adapter. So what you need to do is download Search API Solr and Search API attachments. I'm just trying to think. Probably if you just download Search API Solr, it will just download Search API for you. So go ahead and download the latest version of the Solr module and also attachments. So I've already gone ahead and done that. And what we can do is just go to extend and search for Search API. And we have a few options here. What you want to do is install the Search API Solr admin and Search API attachments. And that's going to pretty much install everything for us. Thanks to the magic of dependencies. Yep, there we go. And let's just set all that stuff up. All right, cool. That is all set up. Now what we need to do is set up Solr itself, because Solr is a separate application. It's got nothing to do with Drupal. It is a separate library. It is a powerful search engine library. And because I'm using DDEV, which is a great development environment for your Drupal sites, and which I highly recommend if you are going to be building Drupal sites, or honestly, any type of PHP-based site. I think you can even use DDEV for like Node applications. I use DDEV for Laravel sites. I've been playing around a lot with Symfony lately, and also WebWash.net is a WordPress site. Yes, it is. Just don't come at me with pitchforks about that. But yes, it is a WordPress site, and I use DDEV to manage the local environment for that. So I highly recommend you use DDEV if you do want to do some good Drupal development. Now, DDEV does have a add-on registry. We can easily add on extra functionality. So if you go to the add-on registry, you can see you can add in cron, Cypress, Elasticsearch, all sorts of stuff, okay? All sorts of stuff. Now, if we search for Solr, we have Drupal Solr, and then we have just DDEV Solr. The DDEV Solr is the generic one. That's the one you want to use. Now, to set this up, all you need to do is run, where is the command? This command right here. DDEV add-on get, and then the command that you want. Let me go ahead and do that. Well, let me jump out of here, go clear, and I'll just copy this across. And it's going to go ahead and download the images. Now, I've already downloaded the actual image, the Docker image, so that's why it's pretty quick. And then you finally go, what is it, DDEV restart, and it will restart the application for you. And just give that a moment. It'll take about 30 seconds. When I did this last week, in last week's stream, when I added in Solr, for some reason the whole DDEV just died, and I just had to restart Docker, which happens sometimes. All right, give that a moment. And need a bit of hold music. I always say that whenever I'm dealing with this stuff. I do remember back in the day when Composer was very slow, but I think Composer 2 is much faster. Okay. So now if we could type in DDEV status, we should see Solr perfect, that is running. And if we go to this URL, it will take us to the admin page. And the username and password is Solr and Solr rocks. That can be changed, but we're just running this locally, so don't have to worry about it. And this is the actual Solr admin. Again, this has got nothing to do with Drupal. Okay, this is just a Solr admin. If you install Solr yourself, this is the admin page you're going to get. Now, it is pretty bare because here in the no collections available, essentially the collections is, you can think of it like an index. So now we need to set it up. So to set everything up, what we need to do is go to configuration, Search API, and you want to click on add server. And I'll call this one media, I can spell it, media index. Now, often with hosting providers, my experience has been that some of them, especially Drupal specific ones, I'm not going to name them, but some of the ones that do offer Solr integration, I think only give you access to like one index. So if you are going to have a custom index for media, a single index for your content, just be aware that it may not be a good idea to just use the one index for everything. You technically can, but you may have issues with auto, like I think like spell check and things like that. So if you are going to mix and match content in your indexes, just test it out. All right, so we've set everything up here. You want to then select Solr Cloud with basic auth. And from the connector, the only change you have to make here is just to change this to Solr, because remember, we are in a container. We are in a DDEV container, and DDEV needs to get access to localhost, which is essentially Solr. So you want to make sure that you use this port, and also instead of localhost, you just call it Solr, and that's it. And then we have the collection, which will be media index. And if we scroll all the way down, we do need to put in, again, the Solr and Solr Rocks password. So let me just put that in and click on save. Now, sometimes you may have to restart things. Let's see what happens. And let's give that a moment. And this is taking a bit longer than it should. Let's look at that. All right, cool. Let's take a quick look at our, oh, unable to reach. Yeah, that happens sometimes. So let's go here. Unable to reach. Why can't I reach it? All right, let's go back. Endpoint, Solr, Solr, Solr. All right, did I type something in wrong? Probably. All right, let's go back here. The Solr, basic auth. Let me just double check that. Grab the exact. Okay. And let me put in the password. Oh, okay. All right, so, okay, so that's all there. Let's refresh. And now what we need to do, okay, could not be accessed. Okay, retrieving. All right, now what we need to do is click on upload config set. Now, if you can't see this button, it is because this module isn't installed. Because believe it or not, you can set up Search API Solr and not install this admin module, and everything's going to work, but you won't see the button. So you now need to set the configuration. So let's go ahead and click on upload, and then upload and create collection. Let's give that a moment. Everything's looking good. And what you want to do is come back here, refresh, and now you should see media index. And then if you click on query, and this is where you can actually query things. So if you're actually keen to learn about Solr, come in here and query things. And then of course, if we click on execute query, we don't see anything because there's no content essentially. Okay. So now we have everything set up. Let's go back to Search API. We have our server. Now let's go ahead and create our index. So let's create an index and we'll call this one media docs. And we need to select our data source, which is media. And let's select the bundle. So only those selected, which is document. And then you want to select your media index. And that is about it. You can configure a few extra things here, but we'll just leave that for now. And click on save. All right, so we have 3 items, which is correct. You want to make sure that this matches and that everything is working. And now what we need to do is configure our index by adjusting the fields and also the processes. But before we do that, what we need to do is we do need to make one more configuration, and I'll bring this up in a new tab. We'll go to configuration and then search. You should see Search API attachments. Click on that. Now you can select your actual extraction method. This is where you tell Search API, okay, can you extract the content using this library or that library? We are going to use Solr extractor. And if you click on that, you're going to get another error. Now, what we need to do is set up the private file schema. So essentially, you just need to set up and configure your Drupal site so that it does have a private directory. Now, to do that, what you need to do is jump over to your code, go into web settings, default settings, no, web sites, sorry, default, settings. And if you search for, where is it, private, here we go. I've just previously set it up anyway. Got it right here. And you need to then put in a direct path to the private folder. Now, I have a private folder which is outside of the document root. When you set up a Drupal site, often the web directory or the htdocs, whatever you call it, is the document root, which means that the web server exposes that directory to the public. And that's why if you know the path directly to files, you can get access to the files just by going /sites, default files, and so on and so forth. With the private directory, where it actually recommends that you stick it outside of the document root. So here we have it set up right here as private. And the path should be relative to what the path is in the container, which is var/www/html and then private. And if I save that, and let's go drush DDEV drush CR. And if we now refresh and try it again, there we go. We didn't get an error. And now we just select our index, click on save, and test execution. It's going to go ahead and do some testing, and it works. There we go. We're done. And the other thing which I highly recommend is you go to configuration. Where is it? Files, file system. And you want to make sure that this is set up as well, right here. And finally, another way, especially if you're using Apache, you should see a .htaccess automatically just get thrown in there. So that's how you know things are set up. So any file field which has been configured to use the private file system will be stored in this directory. Okay. So now that we've set that up, so at this point, we've got the, Search API Solr, Search API attachments. There is a lot to this, isn't it? There is. Anyway, okay. So all of that's set up. Now what we need to do is define our fields that need to be indexed. But if we click on Add Fields, you won't see our actual document field here. Now, when you use Search API attachments, it works a little differently. What you need to do is first of all go to Processes and then enable File Attachments. And if you save that, it's going to ask you to re-index pretty much any single time you muck around with the processes and fields and things like that. It's going to ask you to re-index. That's right. But now if we go back to fields and click on Add Fields, we should see the Search API Attachments document. Add that and then click on Done. And if you want to support full text search, you want to change this type drop down to full text. And then click on Save Changes. And if we go ahead and index stuff, we have 3 items indexed. Now we should see it right here. So if we click on Execute Query, we are going to see 3 items returned. And most importantly, we're going to see the document right here. Here you can see it. And you can see that there's a lot of HTML here. It stripped out, it got the HTML. And you can see that there is a lot in there. There's a lot of content. Okay, so it is working. We can see that it is stripping out the text or content from the documents. Now, if you do have a PDF that's just an image, this probably won't work. So just be aware of that. I've dealt with clients where they have PDFs, but they're all just images in a PDF. Then you need to do OCR, like optical character recognition, to extract things, and then it's a little different. I'm sure there's some type of third-party service that does it all for you, but they probably charge a lot for you as well. And the good thing is this is free, other than just paying to host Solr. All right, now let's go ahead and just build out and chuck in a few more fields. What we're going to do is let's add in Well, let's go back to, where is it? Fields. And let's go to add. And I'll add in authored by, authored on. And let's put in the name. Where's the name? Right here. And let's click on save. And if we re-index it, because you need to re-index it every single time, and we take a look here, we should see a few more fields. A few more items such as created. There should be the name is right there. And the user, you can see here, UID is there as well. Well, he has a UID of 1 because admin created it. Now let's put in some processes to clean up this HTML just so that we don't need this HTML in there. So what we can do is go to processes and let's turn on highlighting because I want it to be highlighted, and HTML filter, and that's going to clean it out because that essentially strips out HTML. And we'll also ignore the cases as well. And I do think everything else is fine. Of course, adjust accordingly. And if we click on index and now we search, you will see that all the HTML has been stripped out. And this is much cleaner now. Okay. Now, on your Drupal site, you, of course, may want to adjust which fields you want indexed. Every single site that I've worked on adjusts their fields in a different way. So just see what works for you and what doesn't work for you when it comes to indexing the fields. So we have our server, we have our index, everything is in the server and indexed. Now let's create a views page that displays all this information, because that's the benefit of using Search API. To create the actual search page, you just use views. And that is why I really like Search API. I probably mentioned this last week in last week's video about Search API, but I have used many CMSs in the past. And so many times I've been in a situation where I just need to create a basic views page with a bit of search functionality, and those CMSs do not have it. Whereas I know with Drupal has it. So it's a very powerful combination of using Search API and views. And I really like that a lot. It does make learning Drupal harder because you have to learn views as well as Search API. But once you learn it, then you're in the sweet spot when you can build some awesome stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and now build our views page. And I want to create a backend page, which will sit nicely as a tab on this row right here next to, I don't know, probably after media or something. We can control that. So if we go to views and click on add view, and I'll call this one docs. And from the view settings, we need to select what content we want to query. And in this case, it's going to be the index. So anything that starts with index is from Search API, and then the name of it, which is media docs. And we will create a page, and the path, because we want it to be right here, it needs to have admin/content and then slash whatever. So I will put in admin/content/ docs. And let's make it a table. Now, the page settings and block settings, if you are going to have blocks, can be controlled and changed later on. The view settings can't. I actually had a comment about that, which is correct, because I always used to say all of this stuff can be changed later on. And then somebody's like, no, it can't. And I'm like, yeah, you are right. Kind of had a moment there. It's like, oh, apologies. I can imagine somebody, a year ago hearing me say that, creating a view, and then a month later, they're like, I thought Ivan said you can change the settings all the time. It's like, no, you can't. But no, you cannot change this option right here. You can change the sorting, that you can change, but not this option here. Anyway. All right, let's click on Save Settings. Now, because this is a Search API, or because it's using Search API as a backend, it is going to turn off caching and just treat things a little differently. All right, let's click on Save. And we have our nice little basic table right here. And the first thing I highly recommend you do, especially if you set up these kind of admin pages, is make sure you configure the page settings, okay? So first things first, if we come to this content page right here, we can't see the tab, but if we go to /docs, we should see the page, okay? So let's fix that up first. To add a tab, just click on No Menu, select Tab, Menu tab, and then just put in the name of it, which is Docs. And most importantly, the parent needs to be administration. And also make sure that the path does start with admin/content/ and then the name. And also you want to make sure that the administration theme is set to yes, but by default it is. We do that. And now we get the tabs and we can access it from all of these other pages. Let's also change the order of this. So that would be, come along in here and set it to, I don't know, 100 or something. And we set that, there we go. It's right down at the end, docs. All right. Now, the other thing you need to do, and this is very, very important, and I'll bring this up every single time I talk about views, especially if you're creating backend views, take special note of this, access, unrestricted. What does that mean? Well, that means that anyone can access the page. So if we open up this URL incognito, we can get access to it. Now, this can be very problematic because often with admin pages, you have unpublished content that you may not want the public to see. Now, of course, what are the chances of people knowing the exact path? I don't know, but you just know you do not want to keep these exposed or have it set to unrestricted. My recommendation is always add some type of permission, even if it's just view published permission, because no matter what, at least if it's view published and you have to, for some reason, there is an emergency and you need to shut down the site and you just need to stop people getting access to the site, you can easily just go to the permissions and then just untick view published content, and then no one gets access to it. So that's for standard views pages. But in this case, what I recommend you do is use the permission that is used to access this content overview page, because generally editors that have access to this page will also have access to this page. But again, it just depends on your roles and permissions. Everyone's a little different. So if we come along in here, click on permission, and under node, I believe, if you can just see node there, there is access a content overview page. That's what I want. And click on, there we go. And then now if we go to this page, we get access denied. Hooray. And if I go to here, again, access denied, access denied. All right. There we go. All right, so now we can continue building out this page. So what we're going to do is let's add in a few things. Let's first add in the thumbnail. We worked hard to get nice, pretty thumbnails. So let's put that in. And what we can do is set the image style to media library thumbnail. Why not? You can change it to whatever you want. I'll just set it to that. If we scroll down, we get these nice thumbnails. Let's reorder this. All right, now what we can do is let's put in the document, because we may want to link to the file. So we can add that generic file. That's great. We've got a nice little link there. There we go. It's coming along. So we have authored on, and I'll put in, what is it? Authored by, and put operations so we can edit things. And finally, I'll put in the excerpt so we can see like a keyword, keywords appear in search results. So that's fine. What is this? Authored by, yeah, that's fine. And let's highlight, use the highlighted field data, which is great, and click on apply. And if we click on rearrange, let's fix this up. So generally, operations goes to the bottom, excerpt is down, document is first. I'm just putting this together quickly. You can adjust it whichever way you want. And I think that is it. All right. Well, no, actually, let's put authored by at the end. Okay. And last but not least, what we need to do is add in an actual filter. So let's put a full text search in, make it exposed, and it will search any of the full text fields. And if we then click on add on the sort criteria, you want to sort it by relevance because it's going to give you a return of how close this content is to the actual keyword. So let's set that to descending. And now if we search for, say, cake, nothing appears. And why is that? We're putting full text. That's it. Drupal. All right, Drupal's there. Cake. Pancakes. Ah, interesting. The word cake doesn't appear as a separate word. Interesting. Well, that's a shame. Cakes. No, it doesn't. Okay. All right. And finally, what we're going to do is if we come along in here, we have our actual page, but we can fix this up so it just looks a little better. So let's click on settings. And what I want is let's group the authored on and the excerpt to documents so that it kind of groups it. And I'll just separate it by a break. And that means if we search for, say, Drupal, we see the actual results right there, which is perfect. And then if we click on, was it bake? Well, nothing appears, but that kind of works. And then we have cook. You can see that that then appears right there. We have the date, and then we have the actual excerpt, like the highlighted results. So as you can see, like just understanding, or once you understand views, let's be honest, once you understand views, then yeah, you can build out a lot of stuff. You can build out lots of stuff. And let's also now put in some faceted search. And that's another common thing you do with search pages. You put in the ability to filter and facet and you know, filter items by category and things like that. So to implement that functionality, well, what we can use is called facets. So facets add this type of filtering to your search page. And facets version 3 is different to version 2. And I do believe that, yeah, version 2 is just around for historical reasons. But if you are starting a new project, then use version 3. And the way the facets have been rebuilt in version 3 is that they are essentially an exposed filter in views. And the module, the submodule that comes with facets, which is facets exposed filters, requires better exposed filters. So you should be using better exposed filters anyway. Like that's one of my go-to modules that I always have. So download better exposed filters and facets. Now, I've already gone ahead and done that. So what I'll do is I'll go to extend and search for facets. And if you install facets exposed filters, that's just going to install everything for you. And click on install. Okay. So that is all installed. And now what we need to do is we need to index a category field. Well, we need to create an actual category field. So let's go ahead and do that. So before we create the category field, we need to create the taxonomy term, or sorry, vocab. So let's go to structure, taxonomy, and click on add vocabulary. And let's search for category. Well, sorry, enter in the name category and click on save. All right, so we have a comment. Different question. Any recommendation for SKU automation? What exactly are you referring to? When you say SKU automation, what exactly are you referring to? Like, what are you automating? The creation of it? The allocation of it? Yeah, just need a lot more information than just SKU automation. So we've created our category. Let's just click on add term and I'll add in, what is it? Cakes. What is it? Drupal and WordPress. All right, so here there's a comment reply to that. Drupal commas. Okay, yeah, I mean Drupal commas has a SKU field on the product. So if you want to bulk create are you asking just to bulk create products? Well, that's just creating a product using Drupal's API. So it's just as simple as writing a bit of code to create a product. That's about it. And then just defining your SKU. So there is no special way of doing that unless you have a specific requirement on the other side. But to create products in Drupal is just creating an entity. So the same way you create a blog post or a page or an article is the same way you create a product, because everything's an entity. Well, I seem to be getting spammed by Kick now, because I'm streaming on Kick as well. They keep sending me the same thing. Someone is talking about you in this Discord. I'm not going to fall for that one. It's always the same. Oh, it's a different user accounts. Interesting. I'll have to look at that. Okay, now that we've created our terms, let's go ahead and attach the category field to the media type. So what we can do is go to structure, media types, document, and manage fields, and click on add a new field. And let's select reference, and I'll call this one category. Pretty original there. You can call it whatever you want. And you want to select the category vocabulary, which we just created. And then move up the category widget and then select list and click on save. Okay. So we're just doing basic Drupal site building, and let's edit this. And what is this one? This one's Drupal, I believe. This other one is Drupal. And the pancakes one is cakes. Let me just upload one or two extra fields. And where is it? Let me just add in one extra. And this one can be the WordPress one. What? I didn't copy across. Where is that? Let me do that again. Take two. Copy that across. And this one can be WordPress. And we are done. All right, so we've got a comment here. I have a complex project to remove a profile from a Drupal project or start a new one and import everything, removing proprietary modules. Any recommendations? You do know, I just recently found this out. You can uninstall profiles, but it depends how deep. That is a tough question because I've had to deal with this in the past, and it just depends how many modules they are, and when it comes to proprietary modules as well, it's like how deeply integrated. It depends. Unfortunately, I can't give you a recommendation without actually looking at the site. Because sometimes, yes, it might be easier if the content model is pretty straightforward. I would say this. What I will do is, first of all, I'll see just how customized the modules are, and can they be just taken out. That's the first thing. Then I would probably attempt to uninstall the profile, because you can do that in Drupal as of like one of the versions ago. I remember seeing that, uninstalling. Was it Drupal? Uninstall profile. Yeah, here we go. So what you can do is take a look, but this isn't going to fix a whole project. This is simply going to remove it from the, what is it, core.extensions. So you can uninstall it. So you can do that. And this was, I think, preparation for recipes and things like that. So I'll first look at that. Then I will determine if I can rescue the project. That's the first thing I'll do, is determine if I can rescue it. If you can't rescue it, then I'll look at the content model and determine, is it actually easier to spin up a brand new site and just migrate the content across? Because sometimes that might be easier. But again, it just depends. Like, are you going to spend more time than recreating absolutely everything in the new site as well? So you need to kind of weigh up those things. Every site is different. It just depends on the complexity. Really, that's what it depends on. So there's no yeah, sorry about that. I can't give you, here is one button to solve all your problems. If only in life it was that simple. Yeah, I'll just chuck this link in. Oh, yeah. Link to uninstall profiles. Hope that helps. Okay, so where were we? Did I lose it? Okay. So we have created our category field, and I've also just uploaded an extra document. Now let's configure Search API to index that field. So let's go to, do I have that open up as a tab? No, I don't. Give me a moment. Let's go to configuration, Search API. And if we go to fields, and, oh, where is it? Add fields. I always lose that button. And let's look for category and click on add. And we'll just leave that as it is, because it's going to index it, because Search API and Facets is smart enough to kind of know that, yes, that is an entity reference field. And let's go ahead and reindex everything. And if we check our Solr instance, we should see two new fields here called field category. So it's got the version or the term IDs on it. See it right there, and there, and there. And to integrate this with views, all we need to do is, let me just make sure facets is all set up. Yes, it is. All right, cool. And refresh. And if you click on add, you should see a new category right here called facets. And then select category and click on apply. And look at that. Now we can filter by selecting the category or the term ID and just by clicking on term. Okay. Now, first of all, yes, having the IDs there is not useful at all. Let's be honest. So let's now switch that so that it uses the labels. If we click on the settings, what we can do is click on, then where is it? Saw it here. Transfer entity ID to label. And another one I like to use is called show the amount of results. And then we have the term with the numbers, and that's the amount of results. And if we click on save, and where does it come back here? We can now filter. Let's select cakes and WordPress. We can then filter by just those two options. Now, personally, I don't like multi-select elements because it's very easy to unselect what you've selected in the past. So what we can do is we can go to advanced and switch the exposed form to better exposed filters, hence the name better exposed. And if you scroll down to field criteria, field category, then you have a few options. You have checkboxes / radio buttons. Now, you don't have to choose between checkboxes or radio buttons because Drupal determines that based off the fact that if the widget allows only one value, then it'll be a radio button. If you can select multiple values, then it'll be a checkbox. So click on apply, click on save. And if we come back here, now we have checkboxes. Look at that. That is pretty cool. I can still search for Drupal. Got this nice little thing right here, but I can say, actually, I want the keyword Drupal and category WordPress. I don't know why you want to do that, but hey, each to their own. You can. So let's go and edit our view again. And better exposed filters has a lot of options. You can put in reset. That's a pretty useful one. And let's put in a no results. What is the text? That one. Put in no results returned. And let's just finish this off by putting in the, summary. Click on save. And now we're starting to get, well, we've got the display up the top here. We can reset. So we have 1 of 4 results and we can just filter by these items. And if we do search for, bake? No, that is weird that the term bake does not appear in the, make? Something must, there we go. We can see now our keyword appears in our results right here. So there you have it. You know, there's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can do when you integrate with Solr. Well, that's what I'm trying to do more with my streams and all that, which I really want to cover. It's like, how to use Drupal with other platforms. Because Drupal is poised to really be at the forefront, especially with the AI stuff and when you integrate with other platforms as well. And also it's a good way to just keep things fresh and learn new things as well. Let's be honest. I've been doing Drupal for a very long time. And sometimes it does get a little stale. Well, if you keep doing the same thing all the time, of course it gets stale. It's going to happen. All right. So as you can see, if you've stayed to the end, well, thank you very much. And apologies, I don't know for what, but maybe all my ums and ahs and things like that. But if you have stayed to the end, as you can see, setting up the ability to index PDFs, Word docs is relatively simple using Search API, Solr, and then Search API attachments. And if you are using DDEV locally, then yeah, look at using DDEV Solr add-on to just set everything up. And I do recommend that you do spend a bit of time learning about DDEV because there is a lot of stuff here. You have PHPMyAdmin, you have OpenSearch. Oh, that is something I want to cover as well. Maybe I'll do that next week. No, see, the reason why I should watch, I'm going on a tangent now, but I actually watched a great video on one famous YouTuber. I forgot his name, but he actually mentioned that when he comes up with ideas for videos, there needs to be enough substance in the idea for it for it to actually get a couple of videos out of it. And that kind of made sense for me because he goes that it's much easier to do a similar video multiple times than to do a brand new format every single time. And you can think about it. When I do my live streams, if I talk about, say, search, which I did last week, it was much easier for me to prepare tonight's stream because I already kind of did, I don't want to say I did half the stuff, but I still set up Search API, I still set up search, but everything is still fresh in my head. But if I now turn around and go, okay, next week I'm going to do something totally different, then I need to prepare for that and test things out, and it kind of made sense. And I do want to cover OpenSearch because that is pretty cool. But yes, I do recommend that you check this out, have a play with it, with DDEV. All right, so that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal, head over to webwash.net. And as I said in the beginning, if you want to support the channel and support all future streams, check out the WebWash Premium community. At this point, I do have a bunch of the, a select few of live streams that will be turned into courses where you can watch them in nice cut up, edited videos. And there's also a certificate at the end once you go through all of the actual videos. And I do have a community section, which I'd love for people to jump on and chat about just random stuff if you have Drupal questions. And I am in the process of like setting up a few things where I might be able to spin up websites directly from here or have like starter kit type of sites where we kind of build things and then it's like, well, instead of building it, press a button and you get a copy of the site and spin it up. So I'm in the process of kind of fleshing that stuff out, but that's all for the future. So anyway, that is it from me. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. And if there are any search stuff you want covered in future videos, please leave a comment because I've got a few ideas. I want to, yeah, as I mentioned, look at OpenSearch, but another one is probably integrating like a custom front end with Drupal as a search backend. So that would be pretty fun where you have like a headless setup. We can access everything through a REST endpoint because then you can use Drupal as like a awesome platform, which I think that's where Drupal is really positioned at this point, where you use it as a backend because there's so many ways of controlling the front end. And yeah, using it as a backend is probably the best way to go. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all next week. All right. Hope that was fun. Hope I was able to answer everyone's questions. All right. That was cool. Cold decaf coffee. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Decaf. No, I do drink. No, I drink normal coffee, but when it's at night, I just like to drink coffee. So I choose decaf. Or maybe sometimes I sprinkle in a bit of the good stuff. That's like proper coffee as well. What is it? 3 parts decaf, 1 part real coffee. Anyway. All right, now the real fun happens because this is where I stay back and chit chat. All right, now I'll just turn everything off. Hopefully everything's saved correctly. Cool, cool, cool. All of these videos that all these videos from these live streams, I think I've done 85 of these streams now. And every time I record, I save 2 versions locally, and there's one on YouTube that I get, and I back that up. So yeah, you can imagine that there is a lot of space. And one of my hard drives actually died. Well, it didn't die, but it wasn't connecting, and then I had to format it. And I feel like it's a little slower, but that's right. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Oh, thanks for. No, come on, can I? Thanks for joining. But I do wonder how hard would it be to create like a little search engine using Drupal as a backend? That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Because believe it or not, I've actually been, I actually thought, because I'm building out just random. Now, I'm not going to bore you with, I'm not going to advertise too much, but essentially what I want to do is get all of the live streams on WebWash. Okay. So I've got like 85 or something, and then just get them online like they are here. Okay. You've got them here, and you have like this, you have the content behind. And this site is a WordPress site. And I had a look, and it's like, yes, I can pay for another plugin. I don't want to pay for another plugin. And I do occasionally think it's like, oh, should I convert this site over to Drupal? But the problem is that I know I'm going to lose like so much time, and I just need to focus, especially now with the premium community that I'm trying to get off the ground. I need to be in marketing mode. And that's the problem. Developers love to just be like, oh, I need to rebuild this thing just to kind of procrastinate and go do something else. That's one thing I'm terrible at. So I need to kind of stop myself and say no, where you kind of force yourself by using a different platform that you are used to, because it kind of focuses you to just not spend too much in the code, because I need to do everything through plugins. Anyway, what I was thinking is, why don't I set up a Drupal instance, which is used as a search engine for this WordPress site, and then just integrate directly with it? Because then I can create awesome search engines like with it. And then I thought about, well, how hard would it be to display a views? This is one thing I've been thinking of, and I'm just thinking as I'm talking. How hard would it be to display a custom views block in WordPress? That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Imagine that. You go off and create a whole bunch of views on a Drupal instance, and then you can expose that using a REST endpoint. That will be a pretty cool series of live streams, actually. Oh. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Comment on LinkedIn about the cake search. Yeah, I guess you just need to configure. Well, that's it. Yeah. Agree. Yeah. It's some config issue. I'll be curious. Let's try and look at that now. So what is that? Any or all contains any. But let me have a quick look at that. Yeah, see, the word cake doesn't appear on its own, or maybe, but is it a synonym? Is that, huh? Yeah, see, this is where I've had so much fun, if you'll call it that, or issues, where I get a request from a client saying search isn't working. And I don't really like those tickets because to fix them up, you need to understand search. And understanding search from a technical standpoint is a whole other, it's like a field of science essentially. Man, I just build Drupal sites. That's all I just click around and create fields. No, I'm joking. I do more than that. Well, with remote working, so I, I was going to say I can make coffee for everyone, but with remote work, I can't even do that. So that is interesting. But yeah, if I change it to any all, where was that? Ah, see, it's still not appearing. Interesting. Anyway, that's an interesting one. But yeah, I do think about this. Coming back to like Drupal integration, being able to integrate it. The other thing I was thinking of is I want to put like a chatbot on WebWash as well. And it's like, why don't I just have Drupal as a backend and then integrate a chatbot through some type of chat tool? There must be some type of chat system that you can just chuck in here on the right hand side and then just index it. So all the WebWash content will be indexed in a Drupal site and using search and do it through an API. That's interesting. Maybe I'll do that for a future stream. Because then, you're using Drupal as a platform. And that's where I think that's the future, I think. Where it shouldn't be, oh, you shouldn't be you use Drupal or WordPress. Why can't it be use Drupal and WordPress? Of course, it means that you're gonna have a bit of complexity in managing everything, but yeah, who knows? Maybe that is a future live stream. I mean, how hard would it be to integrate WordPress search by using Drupal as a backend? Hmm. Anyway, that's a good thought experiment. All right. Well, thank you very much for everyone joining. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. And one of the other streams that I was going to do, and I think I might do it, was looking at like what is it, Next.js and Drupal. I think there is where it integrates Drupal and Next.js. That actually looked pretty cool, and I've got it working locally and all that stuff. So maybe I'll have a play with that. Anyway, leave you all to it. Thank you very much for joining. See you all next week.